What is up, everybody? It's Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe Show, the home of epic conversations. And I'm the home of epic conversations. 2020 Best Podcast News Award winner, 2018 Innovation Award winner given out by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association. Also, I co-host and co-produce the only online show in the world for dads and fathers that is sponsored by Dove Men Plus Care, and being part of that collaboration in 2022 and 2021, part of a team that reached out directly and indirectly to over 100,000 fathers around the world. So I always like to say you're blessed, highly favored, a magnet for miracles, and a solution for someone's problem. And few housekeeping things. Whether you're watching this live or on the replay, would love you, if you haven't yet, to subscribe to the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube and on Facebook or wherever you're watching this, even on LinkedIn. So if you're watching this on YouTube, especially, when you subscribe, also hit the notification bell. So that will notify you of upcoming conversations. I've been blessed just at the end of last year to get over 1,000 YouTube subscribers, and the channel is growing like fire. So appreciate it. That's up. If you're up to it, you do it. No problem. Some other things. If you are watching this before February 16th, 2023, I am hosting, in collaboration with Innovation Guelph, a session about all things podcasting, or especially how to get your podcast started, especially if you're a business owner. So join me for the it's the last two of the three-part session on this highly interactive free series. So there's the link there. Now, a lot of times I like to introduce new friends to the platform or to the conversation. Well, this gentleman isn't a new friend to me, but he may be to many of you. Also, as we go quickly, if you have any questions, comments, especially if we're going live, put them in the chat. We will get them answered. But let me give you a little backstory on this gentleman who I've known for a little while and seen him grow in a positive manner. Excuse me. His name is LeRon L. Barton. He's a writer from Kansas City, Missouri. I wonder if he's cheering for the Chiefs this weekend. I don't think he's a Chiefs fan, though. He'll tell us. He's currently living in San Diego, California. He's a graduate of Paseo Academy of Fine Arts. He's the author of 2 books, Straight Dope, a 360-degree look into American drug culture, and All We Really Need Is Love, stories of dating, relationships, heartbreak, and marriage. In addition to his books, he's an essayist whose topics cover racism, mass incarceration, politics, gender, and dating. These works have appeared in Black Enterprise, Salon, Harvard Business Review, The Good Men Project, Your Tango, Media Diversity, Raconteur, Elephant Journal, Slate, and MoAD. He's an international speaker who has given multiple talks and appeared on TEDx, Al Jazeera, University of San Francisco, Navis, Speakers Who Dare, University of Massachusetts-Amhurst, Nas Dubai, Glide Memorial Church, HCA, the City of Cupertino, Altos Chamber of Commerce, Square, Lockton, and the United Way of Los Angeles, and Defy Ventures. In his spare time, man, if he's doing so much speaking, where does he have spare time? That's a good question. He enjoys mentoring African-American youth and backpacking around the world. He is joining us tonight live. I'm going to bring up in just a second. He's going to be talking about his lens on the mass shootings happening in America and its gun culture. And if you have been paying even a little bit of attention to the news, there has been a lot of mass shootings going on in the last little while in America. So LeRon is going to give his take on it. So welcome to the stage, back from a little hiatus, and hopefully he'll be back with us for a while, Mr. LeRon Barton. What's going on, LeRon Barton?
What's going on, Dr. Vibe, man? So happy to be back. So happy to be here. Man, that, not to my own horn, man, but I got a resume. You know what I mean?
Not bad.
Not bad. Thinking about it, like starting grinding on this back in like 2013, man, to now, I often don't really like to look back at things that I've done. But it's just like, wow, I've done this and I've done that. And, this was the first podcast that I was ever on. It was a Dr. Vibe show. He found me because I used to write for the Men Project. And, he's been one of my ardent supporters, a mentor, just a wonderful Black man. Love you very much, Dr. Vibe. And just someone who's always been an encouraging word. So I'm super happy to be back. And, yeah, man, let's rock and roll.
Let's get it. So here's a pop quiz.
Yes,
Do you
sir.
remember the first date you were on the platform?
Man, you know what? It was sometime in October. I think it was like October 2015, something like that.
Well, it's interesting. So I have, like, I did a little bit of a quick look before we went
Yeah.
live. I have September 2017.
Wow,
Was it
really?
before?
Yeah. Oh,
Yes.
oh yeah. Oh yeah, man. Oh yeah, man. Like way before. You know, it's funny.
You
Like I'm
sure?
oh man, 100%. Like I remember when I was on your show. Like the first time I was on your show, I was so nervous. And you had said, I never forget. You were like, look, LeRon, just like what Aaron Rodgers said. Everybody relax. And because you remember like that year, like when the Packers, I think they were like 2-3, and Aaron Rodgers just comes to the podium. He's like, everybody relax, like
Yeah.
and you told me to do that, and it was just such a great time, man. Just
I stand corrected. You are right. The first time you were on the platform, I'm gonna give the exact date, October
wow,
18th, 2015.
2015, man. That's a gosh, like we go back almost 8 years. It's a wow.
So I'm gonna give you a pop quiz. You were on
Yes,
with
sir.
two other gentlemen. Do you know? Do you remember either gentleman's names you were on with? You probably
Yes.
don't. Okay.
Dr. Rashid,
No.
Galen Bingham.
No.
Wow. Who were they?
Well, one gentleman I haven't heard from in a long time. I hope he's doing okay, and maybe I need to reach out to him. Alfonso Porter,
Man, what's up, Alfonso? If you're out there, please hit us up. Man, I haven't heard that name in
and
a while.
and another gentleman you probably heard his name probably a little bit more recently, Rodney Kellum.
Yes, definitely. Man, Roddy, and we used to like you guys. So if you ever have a chance, you can go on YouTube. You can go on, you know, whatever podcatcher you have. Type in Doctor Vibe or type in Do you know what time it is, or just type in my name,
Yes.
LeRon Barton, and you'll be able to just
Yes.
listen to just these conversations we would have, and it was just, such like for me, it was so wonderful because it was it was three black men, as Dr. Vibe would say, opining on issues. And if you look at it at the time, there wasn't a venue or a area for black men to really talk because, again, man, like, being a black man, your your voice is often, silenced. You're quote unquote taking up too much space and all this goofy stuff. And so, or, you're supposed to just sit there and just let everyone else talk. And so it was great having this platform to just, and, it allowed me to really develop my voice and to be able to just talk about issues that really affected me and that I was very passionate about. I mean, I was, gosh, like, like 2015, like
That's
I
going
was, I was,
back,
I
man.
was,
That's
I,
going back.
I was just 35. Oh, I'm sorry, 2015. Was I 20? Was I 37? Yes, yeah, yeah. I mean, but I was still sort of like coming into my own as far as, being having a voice, being a writer and everything. And so, yeah, it was a beautiful thing.
So yeah, so as before LeRon and I talked a few days ago, and there is rumblings from the do you know what time it is posse
Yeah,
that they
that would
want
be
to get
so
it
live.
started again. So I'm going to be sending out a message to the posse. I've been procrastinating on it, but I have to get it done sooner rather than later. But as LeRon said, if you go on the website and you type in "Do you know what time it is,"
A
goes back
lot.
to 2015.
Even
A
if you go
lot
on
of
to, even if you go on to like, if you go on to the Goodman projects, I'm
yes,
sorry,
some
not
of
to
them are
interrupt.
on there
Sorry, yeah,
too.
not to interrupt. Yeah, I mean, there's so many. I mean, there's so many episodes. I mean, Dr. Bob, what would you think? I mean, how many episodes do you think you've done
Oh
of
my
that show?
gosh, there's got to be at
It's
least
catalog.
minimum 100. I know I'm probably
Oh
underselling,
yeah,
but
easily,
but
easily.
yeah, but and it's funny because it was, and it's probably still unique in its time right now. We had live at that time audio only
Right.
conversations with black men from Canada, the United States and England at the same time. And really got to hail up Clive Henry, who was in England. When we finished those conversations, a lot of times it was 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock in the morning in England, and he showed up every episode. And so that alone, and again, that was ahead of its time audio-wise to have, and the power of digital when it's used in a right purpose.
Absolutely.
3 different countries, 2 continents, live audio-wise. So now the thing is, with the technology, we're gonna do it video-wise. There may be some people who may not be on video. Well, they don't have to turn on their camera. They can still need to be on. So I'm shouting out, of course, Henri Morris, the man of Knuckle Up and Buckle Up, VU, Victory Unlimited, Mike Ramey, Clive Henry, Jonathan Juiceman Shaw. Actually, Mike Ramey reached out to me the other day. We had about a half an hour conversation. So he said, when we getting this started? When we getting this started again? So when the general speaks, I got to make it happen. So look in the near future, and I'm visioning that this is going to start next month. Yeah, Black History Month, whatever. But we're looking this. Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry to ask. Can you also reach out to Q? Man, like the brother, you introduced me to him. Just amazing black man. Let me look up his because I think he changed his name.
I think I know who you're talking about.
I mean, just he's on Twitter as at Cuban Link, QBAN_link. Forgot that brother's name, but just man, I'm just such a.
There wasn't in the initial days of the Allies.
Andre Domis. Man.
Oh yeah. Okay, I've not heard anything from him in a long time, but he wasn't probably the Allies. But I have not heard anything from Andre in a long time. But I can certainly reach out. Another smart black brother.
Super smart, man. Super smart.
Oh wow, but deep. But we've wasted time here for all you. People want to hear you talk about your subject tonight, but we had to do some catching up and really get into this. But tonight, you and LeRon has said to me he wants to come back on a regular basis.
100%. I will definitely be back. So
our goal is to at least have him come on once a month and make it happen, because it's good for everybody. So today you want to talk about the mass shootings happening in America and its gun culture. So where do you want to start on this conversation?
First off, I want to send my condolences to the victims of the shooting in Monterey Park, as well as the shooting in Half Moon Bay. For those who don't know, Monterey Park is a Asian community that is in Los Angeles County, which is Southern California within the United States. And Half Moon Bay is a city that is in Northern California. I'm sorry about that, Dr. Vibe, excuse me. It's more of an agricultural community that is in Northern California, and both of these shootings happened last week. Within maybe 24 to 48 hours of each day, and so give the condolences to those victims. I mean, it's really sad how I believe that at the moment in January 26th, there's been about 33 mass shootings, even though I feel like that we're kind of moving the goalposts when it comes to mass shootings. Like when they really first started coming to prominence back in '99 with the Columbine, it was more than like four people dying. It was like 10, 12 people being shot, and it's like now you got just a couple people together, oh my God, it's a mass shooting. But nevertheless, America has a humongous problem. I mean obviously we are gun crazy. Americans, particularly white Americans, love guns, and so because of that, we have to look at it as instead of it being kind of a rarity, Dr. Vibe, I mean, it's almost a certainty. You know, it's a probability even of another mass shooting happening almost every day.
Well, LeRon, and thank you for giving the open comments. But guns have been part of America's history.
Right.
So, you know, these mass shootings happen, and it seems that, unfortunately, there's a weird part that we're getting. Like, I live in Canada, but do you feel Americans are getting used to these, and it happens, and we just move on to their everyday lives?
100%. You know, when the Columbine shooting happened, it was such a shocker, because, you know, we didn't think, oh my God, like, you know, kids killing kids. I mean, it stayed in our consciousness for like months, years. I mean, you know, Michael Moore did a great documentary on it. It was just, I mean, it was the subject of, you know, so many conversations, and it's like now, it's almost like, you know, we've kind of moved on from the Monterey Park shooting, from the Half Moon Bay shooting. I mean, it's only been like 4 or 5 days, and so I think that they happen so frequently, Dr. Vibe, that, you know, we're just kind of desensitized to them, and it's really sad because, you know, we've almost subconsciously accepted, okay, this is a part of American life, which is, I mean, it's almost like a retreat, right? You know, we're saying to ourselves, okay, you know, there's absolutely nothing that we can do, because we have a certain segment of the population that believes in having this right to own a weapon. It supersedes death. And so, yeah, you know, this is where we are today.
So let me ask, let's go right to the foundation, bottom line, and move up from that. It says in your, and correct me if I'm wrong, you're an American,
Yes,
I'm not, does it not say in the Constitution, Americans have the right to own arms, bear arms?
Absolutely. Yes, yes, it does. So that's the Second Amendment, right? Okay. And so when we look at that, you know, everyone has a right to protect themselves, right? You know, if you want to own a weapon, if you feel like you are in danger, listen, I'm not against guns, right? I grew up shooting guns. Like, I believe, like, my grandfather told me how to shoot a gun at like 9 or 10. So, you know, I remember being a young boy holding guns. So they don't scare me. It's just that I don't mind someone being a responsible gun owner. Like, you know, I'm not here to advocate to, you know, abolish the Second Amendment. I think that if you are a responsible gun owner, you should be able to own a gun. The problem is that guns are way too easily obtained. I mean, Dr. Bob, if you think about it, in America, you can get a gun easier than getting a driver's license. I mean, you know, because with the driver's license, you know, you have to display skill in operating an automobile. You know, when it comes to gun ownership, you can just go to Walmart in some states and in some cities, flash an ID, and you got it. I mean, you don't have to do that. You can just go to a gun store. You can even go to a gun show. People will just sell you a gun. There's no, I mean, like, some cities, some states don't have the background checks. And so because of that, you have people that are able to obtain these deadly weapons, and there's very little checks and balances. So when someone such as myself comes along and it's like, well, you know, we need to regulate this, you know, we need to make it much harder to own a gun, because if you think about it, right, owning a gun, in my opinion, you know, okay, yeah, you know, everyone, you know, people have the right, but it should also be a privilege. You know, it should not be something that should be so readily available to everybody. But because whenever you bring up any type of gun laws, like possible gun legislation, you have a certain subset of the population that will say, "Oh man, here comes the government. They're trying to take our guns. Here comes those liberals. They want us to be defenseless. Oh, what if the government comes to your house and wants to take guns with you? Take guns away from you. When then President Barack Obama, if you've ever listened to me on the show, you know that I'm a big fan of his. Total sarcasm. Like, ugh. But like when President Barack Obama, when he got elected in 2008, there was a significant spike in gun ownership, particularly by white men. So there's always been this belief that the government is going to take your guns, which, I mean, all people want is for these shootings to not occur at such a, it's they're normal now. So when you look at other countries such as Canada, you look at New Zealand, and maybe New Zealand is not a good example because it's probably like the size of Texas, right? But when a mass shooting happened, the Prime Minister of New Zealand banned handguns. I believe in the UK, handguns are illegal. Now you may say, "Oh, those are oppressive governments," but they don't have little kids bringing guns to school and shooting teachers. I mean,
yeah, that story is really wow.
You know what, man? There was a video last week that I seen. I believe it was in Tennessee or somewhere in the South. That on video there was a little toddler playing with a gun. Now the gun was not loaded, but it's playing with an actual handgun. The parent was reported. He was arrested. But just think about that. That just sort of encapsulate. It pretty much is America in a nutshell. Guns are just thought of as just like a broom or a television, or it's not. Guns are not put into their proper context, and they're not put into their proper place. There should be no reason why someone can drive over to Indiana, purchase a gun, no background checks, no kind of or go to a gun show, purchase a gun, and then drive it across state and sell it. Like there's something wrong here, and I just think that people have to take a step back and look at this picture. Like, I don't want to live in a world where my nephews are going to a school, and if a young kid is frustrated or he doesn't have the right mental health or his parents are like really like loosey goosey with guns, he can go to a school and just shoot it up. Like, we're truly in the upside down right here, Dr. Vibe.
Why do you feel? Okay, there's many different levels. Let's go from the political slant. Why hasn't there been more done, in your opinion, politically, to suppress or take some control over this gun control issue?
It's a really good question. So I have two theories. First off, the gun lobby is an incredibly strong lobby group. I think them and the pharmaceutical lobby groups are the strongest lobbying groups. These are the people that will make significant donations to a politician. The NRA, which is the National Rifle Association, whenever the elections come around, they have a voting guide, and they'll have politician A gets 100% from us, which means that they are just anti-gun control. They are about freedoms in America and all this foolishness, and you have politician B, they'll get like a D or an F, meaning that they want common sense gun laws. Also, you have the gun manufacturers such as Smith and Wesson. They are a powerful donor. So politicians need money to run campaigns, right? Unfortunately, campaigns are not free, and that money's in politics. So if you listen to the parents, if you listen to common sense people that want common sense gun laws, then Smith and Wesson, Mossberg, manufacturers that make different handguns, say Glock, they're going to say, listen, no, we're not going to give you money. We're going to give it to your competitor. We're going to prop them up. So I think for me, that's one reason. And two, man, I truly believe that, again, you have a lot of conservative white people that have bought into this belief that it is their duty to protect their family, to protect their homeland. What is it? Something like I always hear this term whenever we hear from gun advocates, to protect themselves from tyranny, right? It's this us against them, right? So we're going back to the Davy Crockett days of him and the musket and fighting against the government. They're trying to just control us, and we're heroes. I mean, this thought pattern is not new, right? I mean, it's like they always imagine themselves as these warriors. Like many people like that all around the world, they'll imagine themselves as Vikings or these or these warriors of a past time, just to sort of rationalize why they are so adamant about gun ownership. And then there is the people that just don't want the government to be able to tell them what to do at all. And in a real way, I understand that, right? I mean, who are you to tell me what I can't own, what I can't have? If I want to stockpile X amount of guns, I should be able to do that. But from my question, Dr. Vibe, why? Why do you need an AR-15? You can't even hunt with it, man. Like it doesn't make any sense. So it's a very multi-layered reason as far as a political reason goes.
Okay, you're a Black man.
Absolutely.
Last I checked.
I
checked, and
look in the mirror daily.
Let me ask you, from a black man's lens, what has gun culture done to Black America?
So you have to understand, Black people and white people look at gun culture very differently, right? So for me, gun culture is, let's stop the police from shooting us, straight up. That's what gun control is all about. I don't want police to roll up on us and shoot us. I don't want George Zimmerman or a white supremacist to shoot me, or and claim self-defense. Oh my God, the Negro made some aggressive, but hand motions, some behaviors. And so I believe gun control or gun culture for white folks is that we don't want to be told that we can't have this and we can't have that. But in America, you're always going to have some type of regulation. I mean, again, you can't drive a car without a license. Every April 15th, something's due called taxes. You can't have child pornography. You can't be married 2 or more times. I mean, this desire for everything to be free, it's just not realistic and it's just not applicable. So it boggles my mind that people will forego, they will totally look at a tragedy, like for example Sandy Hook, right, which is just, it still makes me just so sad that kids were just slaughtered, and you'll have some genius come up and say, well, if it wasn't, well, it would have not happened if a good guy with a gun was there. Okay, what about what happened in forget the town in Texas, starts with a U. There were a lot of good guys with guns there. They didn't do anything. They just waited, Dr. Bob. They were Udall, Texas. I forget the name of it, but they were just waiting. you you know so this whole thing about a gun owner can stop these massacres. It's just ludicrous.
You started off your commentary saying that melanated and non-melanated Americans look at gun culture differently.
Right.
I do though want you to go deeper and saying what impact, good, bad, or good or not good, has gun culture had on Black America?
Well, I think that man, that's such an interesting question. I mean, so if you look at Black history, if you look at a lot of the civil rights movement, popular history wants you to believe that we were just singing "We Shall Overcome." We were just marching in the street, um, holding hands and whatnot. But there were a lot of militant Black groups that actually allowed people like Martin Luther King to be nonviolent. There was a group called Deacons of Defense. Robert F. Williams wrote a book called I believe it was called that nonviolent stuff will get you up. Oh no, I'm sorry. That was Charles Cobb wrote a book called That Nonviolent Stuff Will Get You Killed. There's always been this sense of Black people needing to have guns to defend themselves from white supremacists. Again, like my grandfather, he, God rest his soul, he was a country boy. He grew up with guns. He had a lot of guns, but these were hunting rifles though, and they were strictly used for hunting as well as for self defense. We didn't own like AR-15 semi-automatic rifles because there was no reason to. My grandfather and his family weren't playing in the woods in their pajamas being militiamen. Like they just never did that. So I think that what you are possibly wanting me to talk about is the violence in our communities as far as guns go, right?
Well,
And
not this. I want to talk about the socioeconomic effects, not
sure,
just yeah. We hear about the gun violence in the Black community, but I want to make it deeper than that. Just the whole thing. Yes, we can look at the violence aspect, but what has it had societal impact to us? Like you see, like it or not, you'll see. I don't watch a lot of TV anymore, but there a lot of times you see videos with the guns, and things like that, and
sure.
the impact that's had on the psyche of a number of Black people.
Right. So, let me see. How can I answer this as accurately and as honestly as possible? So, first off, when we look at proliferation of guns in the hood, the guns in the inner city, right? A lot of this started to happen during the crack era. There's a lot of interviews and a lot of text behind, you know, young black gang members, young Latino gang members, specifically in Los Angeles. They will tell you, hey, you know what? We were just walking around and we found a box of guns by the train station, right? So if you think about this, all these things happen around the same time, right? So you had crack, which was introduced into the inner city by the United States government in sort of a partnership with Nicaragua to fund their fight as far as with the Contras, right? So Gary Webb, you know, God bless the dead, he wrote about this in a book called Dark Alliance. And so with the emergence of the crack game, I'm sorry, in the United States, in the inner city, that came with guns to protect territory, guns to just essentially ratchet up the violence. Because if you look at it, like, you know, seeing Uzis or, you know, what we call in the hood fullies, those weren't around in the 70s. You dig, like, you know, there was some gunplay, don't get me wrong, in the 70s when it was all about heroin, but it wasn't at the level that it was in the 80s when you had crack. Crack just totally changed the hood completely, and it decimated it, right? So because there's so few opportunities. See, if you look at the much of the problem with Black Americans today is because of systemic racism, right? We're not a people that are inherently violent, because everything that is happening with Black America then and now are policies that were created, jobs that were taken out of the community, fathers that were taken out of the community, you know, policies by our now president, Joe Biden, to lock up Black people for crack. So when you don't have any opportunities, when you don't have the nuclear family, when you don't have jobs, or, you know, your schools are just poor, you're going to have an environment that is rife with violence. I've said this before and I'll say it again. What is happening in the Black community is just typical of just not having resources. If you go over to certain cities in France, for example, Marseille, to be more specific, the same stuff is going on. If you go into the Rust Belt in America, and what I mean by the Rust Belt is, for example, Ohio, Pennsylvania, they have a tremendous opioid epidemic that is ripping this country apart. Very little opportunities, factories shutting down, jobs gone. So what are people doing? They're picking up the pills and they're picking up the weapons to defend the quote unquote trap. It's the same thing, Dr. Bob. The difference is that with Black folks, it's very easy to label us as violent. Look, what has happened as far as how we deal with guns, the same thing happened when the Italians came over. The same thing happened when the Jewish came over. The same thing happened when the Irish came over. The only difference is, Dr. Bob, they were able to be white. And so when you're able to be white in America, you're able to gain access to certain resources that unfortunately Black folks do not have. Now let's circle back to the guns. Unfortunately, in our communities, because there aren't any because there's so few opportunities, right? And because there's a warped sense of manhood, right? To be a man is to be this strong, brawny, alpha male personality. To be, the late T. Rogers once said, who was the founder of a Bloods gang in L.A., Thorough Brother, right? He had said in Crips and Bloods Made in America is one of the greatest documentaries ever, that, you know, men are always like, you know what, you better respect me, which means you better fear me. That comes with the gun. So there's a lot of different things that we need to tackle when it comes to that.
Fair enough. Let me ask you, this gun culture has been around for a long time. It really has. When you have if and when you have conversations with others about America's gun culture, what are they saying?
Well, I mean, it all depends on what side of the aisle they sit on.
Well, tell us what you're hearing from both sides of the aisle,
and also where they're from. More importantly, where they're from, right? So I remember I had a conversation with a friend of mine. I'll never forget it. And we're talking about guns. He's from Indiana. Indiana is kind of a rural state. I mean, it's got Indianapolis, but I mean, where he's from, he's from the country. And so, we were talking about gun control, and he said, LeRon, people that live in a country, they have guns for protection because they can't call the cops as readily as, say, you or I do that live in a city. The cops may take 20, 30, 45 minutes to come, right? So you have some people that do believe that, there should be comprehensive gun control. I mean, it's needed. It needs to have. And by the way, the city in Texas that I was talking about was Uvalde. Sorry about that. And then you have other people that want to ban guns altogether. Me personally, I'm not a gun owner. I don't think that I'll ever buy one because my life is not that serious to the point where I have to have something. I don't ever want to be put in a situation to where I would have to make that decision. You know what I mean? Because again, I'm a black man in America, so even when I'm in the right, I could be in the wrong, right? And also as a Catholic, I just wouldn't want to make that decision. And then, Dr. Bob, there are people on the other side that believe that there should be no gun regulation, saying that gun ownership should be strictly an individual sort of thought. And I don't agree with that, but that's just how many people think. So,
is this like every time we hear a mass shooting, we're saying, what are the answers? Like, no, not, we'll get to that as we start closing in a little bit, but do you know people who are gun owners?
100%. Yeah.
Do you ever have these conversations with them? And if you just said, but in your everyday life, like, how do you handle yourself around them?
The last time that I had a conversation with a proud gun owner, Scott, I mean, he's posting his gun on social media. I'm like, yo, listen, you're my man, 50 grand, but yo, you look like a clown right now. We kind of went back and forth as far as like, why he was so proud to have that gun. And for me, I believe that when people have pride in owning a gun, like that's just something that I don't understand personally. Like I have pride in being able to help my family out. I have pride in the fact that I was able to drive through Ireland and not get killed. Like, I don't have pride in like owning a weapon. Like, I just that I don't understand it. So I for those type of people, for those type of conversations, I just remember something that this black woman said. She said, whenever I'm talking with somebody and we just can't seem to just sort of get it, she always says, she says something to the effect of, listen, um, we're so far apart, we cannot meet in the middle. So I would rather not exhaust my energy. And I'm a 44-year-old man, so I have a finite amount of time on this planet. So I'm not going to convince some. I mean, and again, listen, it's your right. If you want to own a gun, rock out with it. But I just feel like that there has to be some type of stronger control on getting a gun. It's too, like, again, as I said before, you can buy a gun easier than you can get a passport. Like, getting a passport is hell. If anyone's ever got one in the United States, it's like, filling out forms, taking pictures. You gotta wait. Let me just drive over to Kansas, and let me just grab this Glock. Like, it's like, okay, I want to travel to Africa, or I want to kill somebody. Should be a bit easier for me to get on that plane, but this is where we are. So.
What are the solution? What are where what's net what where can we go to advance? And I guess the challenge is each side is so, well, maybe I'm talking machines, but it just seems that there's no forward movement on this. And is this something we're just going to continue, or Americans are just going to continue to accept?
You know, I used to, man, that's such a good question. I don't think that there'll ever be any meaningful gun control, because after Sandy Hook, again, these were young white kids dying. Like, these were not white people; these were white children dying. Like, just, they were killed, right? And all we got is thoughts and prayers. So, you know, at this point, I mean, there's I don't like to say never, but I'm gonna say almost never. So I mean, it's just
Well,
not gonna it's just not gonna happen,
is everyone going to just be happy with thoughts and prayers?
I think that if there were politicians that, well, first off, if there were no money in politics, maybe we'd be able to get something done. But unfortunately, as I said earlier, with the lobbying groups just being so powerful, and secondly, if we had people that were more in love with making a change rather than being a politician, then possibly we could get something done. But that doesn't seem to be the case.
And it's interesting too, because a few months ago there were midterm elections in
Mhm.
America.
Yeah.
Gun control wasn't a major issue.
No, like, the major issue was abortion, which is, I'm definitely a pro-choice gentleman. But and that's such a good point that you pointed that out, because I believe that, and unfortunately, this is very sad. There's just this giant apathy about the issue, because people know that, going up. I mean, there are more people that feel like America is the fear state, right? Everyone is is afraid, and with the gun control debate, we can't skip over the racial component of it, Dr. Bob. Again, we have the majority of people that are pro free of any gun control, or white people, because I truly believe, and this is just what I believe. This is totally anecdotal. I mean, although I've done reading about this subject. The great Dr. Tommy Curry had a student. Forget the young man's name, but he did his thesis on white gun ownership, and he quoted that a large percentage of these men were racist, right? They're concerned about black people, coming in and, doing things to their family. They're concerned about the borders overrunning with these brown migrants, right? So, you gotta protect the family. You gotta be that warrior. As I stated earlier, you gotta be Davy Crockett. You gotta be that Viking. It's always got to be something romanticized. But yeah, man, I mean, I don't think that it will ever be done, and I just think this is something that we're just gonna have to live with. And
Wow.
and again, like after Sandy Hook, I believe that we have passed the Rubicon, right? We're just like, okay, this is where we're at right now.
Well, I think we'll end it on that because
Yep.
when you say this is where we're at right now, let us hope that there is some. Let us hope that there'll be some clarity and some progress
Yeah.
with this. Was like again, even up to a few years ago, politicians. I know there was a member of American government fairly up in the Republican Party. He got shot. Nothing happened.
Listen, man,
Like people,
Gabby Giffords got shot. She was I believe she was a representative. I mean, she got shot, and still, it's like, hey, sorry to hear that, but if 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 I don't do what my constituents want, then I'm going to be voted out. And I'll be happy when there is a candidate, when there is a politician that is like, that with what some people want, I'm going to do what's right, and then that's when we'll see change. But otherwise, we're just going to have to just be like, ducking shots, man. Which is sad.
do people just a final comment through
Yeah.
your lens? Do you feel Americans feel safe
No, man. I mean, you know, with the amount of guns floating around, I mean, there are more guns in America than there are
than
people.
Americans?
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. So no, no. I mean, I most of the time, 90% of the time, I just kind of just like walk about my day, right? But there are some times where I have to sort of step outside of myself and just go, like, someone could kill me. But I mean, at the same time, I'm a black man, so I'm in a very different sort of category here. But the average American, I mean, I think the media fuels this this sort of hate mongering, fear based society, and so you've got to be afraid of someone that you don't know, because your neighbor could be a child molester. They could be circle, like the new thing that people are saying today is like, well, you could be nice, but Dahmer was nice. It's like, we're 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 all afraid. When I went to Vancouver, everyone was super nice, had the nice awesome accent, and dollar went far, and I got some poutine. So no, I'm kidding, but I mean, still though, it was definitely a totally different vibe. Not to say that Canada is is a utopia, because you can
no,
talk to the brothers and sisters there, such as
sure.
yourself, can definitely tell me different. But yeah, we're just afraid, man. Like, we're walking around, what's gonna happen next, and so it's we're just in a state of constant being on alert, you know,
Right.
and that is a real good way to live. Stress.
Yeah. And it kills a lot of melanated Americans, the stress.
Absolutely, man. Like stress, high blood pressure,
Mm-hmm.
hypertension kills a lot of black folks, man. So, whatever we have to, I always say this, Dr. Bob, whatever you have to do to find your happy, find your happy.
Well, LeRon, thank you for taking the time out of your positive, productive schedule
Been
and jumping
awesome, man.
back into the fray. You are back, and we're happy to have you
That's
back.
right.
If
I'm
people,
back.
if people want to get in touch with you, where can they go?
So that you can go to my website, www.leronbarton.com. That's LeronBarton. It's, much of my writings, my speaking, you can get in contact with me to give a talk. I'm also on LinkedIn a lot. I'm also on Instagram at LeRon L. Barton, and I'm on Twitter at Mainline LeRon. I'm always looking for a great conversation. I'm always looking to learn, exchange ideas. To quote the great Dr. Bill Nye, I'm always looking for my theories to be disproven. However, I do not like nasty grams. I do not like profanity, no racial slurs. If you are a Cleveland Cavaliers fan or if you are a Cincinnati Bengals fan, do not come knocking. And especially if you are
Well,
a Dallas Cowboys fan.
well, we don't have to worry. The only team you have to worry about out of the three, and we're broadcasting this live on the 26th of January, is Cincinnati, who's playing the Chiefs this weekend. So,
So man, Joe Burrows is a really good player. Like, I mean, he's not who the best quarterback in the game is, but the Bengals have beat the Chiefs before they beat them last year. And even though I'm a Niners fan, I'm from the soil, so I'm going for the Chiefs. It'd be nice if it were a Chiefs Niners Super Bowl, but I think the Eagles are just gonna beat the Niners down. It's going to be
I'm not a
it's
betting
be
person,
ugly.
but I have a feeling Cincinnati's going to take it from KC.
Wow, man,
I
he a little
unfortunately,
fake.
I'd like to see KC get through, uh, but I just have this funny feeling. Joe
Me
Burrow has
too,
got
man.
something. Joe
Yeah,
Burrow
man,
has something.
he's very talented. I mean, I thought like I would have liked to have played the Bills before I played Kansas. I'm like, but before Cincinnati, but here we are. So plus Mahomes has the strain, man. I'm just like,
Yeah.
please God bless
Okay.
bless him so we can make it happen. So
Well, the next time LeRon's on, by that time there'll be a Super Bowl, but we'll
yeah,
get his
exactly.
prognostication on what happened between
Exactly.
the AFC Championships and the Super Bowl. But as always, sir, thank you very much for your time. Remember to give yourself grace and don't just
Absolutely.
manage your time, manage your energy.
Thank you so much, Dr. Bob. Looking forward to it, man.
Yeah,
Everybody
glad to
be
have you
well.
back. All right, then. Be
Absolutely. I'm
well and keep
back.
the faith. All right, LeRon is back, family. Absolutely. Absolutely. And hey, giving you a look in the lens of what's going on in America. So, as we close it up here, some final things that we will do here. So, you can watch replays of the Dr. Vibe Show at the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube, LinkedIn, and Facebook. And also my website, www.thedrvibeshow.com. What else? Subscribe to the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube. And when you do it on YouTube, if you do it on YouTube, not only subscribe, but push the notification button. Everywhere else, subscribe wherever you want, Facebook, LinkedIn, etc. Again, if you're watching this before February 16th, 2023, I've completed the first part of a 3-part webinar series in collaboration with Innovation Gulf about how to launch a podcast, especially if you're if you're an entrepreneur or a business person. There's a link there. Next up, if you want to touch base with me, there are all the places. Website, the DRVIBESHOW. Email, DR period at the, no, let's say email, DR period at the DRVIBESHOW.com. YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn, The Dr. Vibe Show. Twitter, at DRVIBESHOW. And Instagram, at the DRVIBESHOW.com. And also, you can promote your business and service on this show. Contact me at dr period vibe at the drvibeshow.com. And you can catch me during the week, 5 p.m. Sunday afternoons, Black Canada Talking, Monday and Friday mornings at 9 a.m. Eastern Time, co-hosting the Morning Vibe with Ryan Knight, the co-executive director of the Afro-Caribbean Network here in Afro-Caribbean Network in Canada. Yes. So we do that. And also Saturday nights at 9 p.m. We have State of Things with Aisha, Jill, and Lala, 3 wonderful Black women that give their takes on social economic issues, especially in the United States and sometimes around the world. So let's leave with this. Live your life as a dream. If you can dream it, you can make it. Sometimes you have to get small to get stronger. Block assumptions, then aim bigger, aim better, aim higher, aim wider. Love, faith, and respect. Remember to give yourselves grace and don't just manage your time, manage your energy. Look forward to seeing you soon. Be safe. God bless. Peace well. Keep the faith. Again, walk good. Take care. See you soon.
Listen.